Okay. I think we should be good. When you're watching this video, we're going to start in 1 second. I just got to.
Oh, I did have a question. Did you want me to keep track of when I was here?
You can, yeah. Michelle will, but you can too if you want.
No problem.
All right. So we're going to get into window problems now. We're going to. So what I want to do in this video is, I'm just going to go over the brief overview of window problems. This is something that we can go into training with. If anybody needs help with it, then I'm more than happy to help them with it. Okay. My suggestion is take down notes. We're going to talk more about the conversation, but before we talk about the conversation, we're going to get into some basic vinyl window problems. Okay. Identifying problems is important, even if we're not going to be in front of the house, which obviously at an event, we're not going to be in front of the house. It's important to understand what you're talking about and what you're looking at, because that customer, you want to envision whatever they tell you, right? So if a customer does admit to me that their windows are warping, I want to know what warping vinyl windows look like. I want to have a basic understanding for that, at least. That way I can further that conversation pretty easily. Because remember, what you're doing is you're taking whatever the customer tells you, okay, and you're expanding it. You're making it, you're making it a bigger problem than it is. Well, then they're saying that it is there based on the information they're giving you. So we'll go through some of that now. So we're going to go through the systems, the way to enter into this conversation, and we're going to go through some of the window problems. So touch on the window problems first. The picture that you're looking at right now, if you're watching this, is, and if, by the way, if you want to look it up too, if you want to look this stuff up, Allison, just type in vinyl window problems in Google and then go to images. That's what we're looking at right now. So in my suggestion is to anybody watching this is, if you're struggling with window problems, type in the window problems into Google, look at pictures. It sounds very simple. It is very simple. It's going to help you get an idea of what these problems look like down. So this picture that we're looking at right now, the window itself doesn't look like it has any problems. Now, a lot of you have seen this picture because we've been training on this for years, but this window itself doesn't look like it has many problems. It looks like a newer vinyl window, okay? The problem is the window itself, the type of window it is going into the hole that it's in. So if you see the frame there, it's a rotting wooden frame. Now, the way that I know that frame is rotted is because it's not the wood that's there. The window does not exist in the wood. The window exists in some sort of material that they put over the wood, over the rotting part of the wood, okay? That's where that window exists right now. The vinyl window has been plopped into a rotting wooden sill, all right? And that's why it looks like that. What they're trying to kind of explain there is that that's not a secure window that's going to be energy efficient. It's not stopping any problems at all right? And the other thing I want to point out here too is these holes in the bottom of the window. Okay, on the right side of the window that we're looking at here, you see this slit in the window itself. That's called a weep hole, W-E-E-P hole, okay? A weep hole. Now, what that weep hole is for, it's a drainage system for the vinyl window. So the water goes into here, into where the screen starts there, and it goes into the window. Now, the question becomes, why is that weep hole underneath the window, right? The water should not be able to infiltrate inside of that window. If it can infiltrate inside of the window, why wouldn't it be able to infiltrate into the wall? What's to tell us that that's a secure enough window to where that's not going to cause rotting around the edges in the frame of the window, okay? So what ends up happening is this window's put into a home, okay? Water gets into this window, and that water starts to flow into the sill, causing more rotting than they had before, okay? It's not energy efficient. It's not efficient to the customer at all. They're going to have to eventually replace that window again. Now, the other thing that will happen with a window like this too, it probably hasn't happened yet because, again, it looks like a newer window. But what I can guarantee you is this window will oxidize, which I'll show you in a second. It will oxidize. It will start to break down, and that will change color. That window is dark enough as a vinyl window to where it will start to change color. It will fade, okay? The next window that we're looking at here is another vinyl window. At some point, this was a vinyl replaced window. Obviously, this one's a bit older than the other one. There's a bunch of stuff to point out with this window here. The first thing I'll point out is that you can see the oxidization on this window. You can see the breakdown of the material on this window, unlike the other window that we were just looking at. If you look here where the little pointer is, you'll see that it looks almost like mold or dirt there, okay? That's not something, this has been freshly washed. You can tell it's been washed. That's not something that you're going to wash off. That's there because the material's broken down and it's caused mold to sort of embed itself inside the window. Okay, that's what's existing there. You can see the difference between this material here where it's smooth. Okay, and we're going back to the other picture there. The difference is it's smooth. It looks new. It looks sleek. It doesn't look worn down at all. And this here, this has sort of lost its shine. Okay, that's because over time, the heat, the change from heat to cold, the acids in the air, and inside the rain, okay, the water itself, that's going to break down the plastic material. Essentially, if you take a child's toy and you put it outside for a couple of years, what's going to happen to that, especially if it's a dark colored toy? If I take my kids, kickball, which is, dark green, and I leave it outside for a year, what's going to happen to that kickball? Okay. It's the same material essentially as that. Okay. Or another better comparison probably is white plastic lawn furniture. We've all seen it. We've all sat in it before. We've gone to family barbecues where maybe they have the good lawn furniture here at the table, but they got a million of those white plastic lawn chairs they bought for $10 a piece. They're not good. They feel like powdery and disgusting when you sit in them over time. That's because they're starting to deteriorate. They're starting to oxidize. That the plastic is starting to break down. You'll see little black dots form all around them like mold dots, and that's because it's broken down. The other thing I'll point out here too is these two holes down here, these weep holes. Now, what you can tell from this is this weep hole down here, the one at the bottom, that is meant to be there. And that's underneath, again, the window material. So in order for that weep hole to do its job, the water would have already had to infiltrate the window in order to go. This is a problem you want to point out to customers. A lot of people have trouble pointing this kind of stuff out. But I've been out on the road with canvassers many, many times where you got a canvasser, they're struggling, they can't find problems at all. They're telling me, oh, it's very, very hard to pitch 20-year-old vinyl windows. I don't know what I'm doing. Everybody's saying that the windows are newer. Everybody's saying that the windows aren't having problems. I can't pull the problems out. I've gone on the road with them and I've showed them this simple weep hole idea. And they've booked a ton of leads based on that idea itself because it is such a drastic problem to the vinyl windows. Okay. Now, it was such a problem for this window that these morons took a Sawzall and cut another weep hole right here. Okay. And you can see that these idiots literally took a Sawzall and cut another hole in the window. Obviously, it's probably a rental home or something like that. They must not have gave too much of a shit about this to be able to do this to their home because it doesn't look good and it's not serving its purpose. Okay. Now that second weep hole was added because I guarantee you water was sitting inside the window sill. So they figured that they needed a drainage hole to be able to get that water out. Okay. Now the next picture is really drastic warping. Okay. You're not going to see warping like this very often. If you think this is the idea of what the customer is going to see, then you're going to run into problems out there. Because again, if you're not on a level path with the customer, if you don't understand what that customer is typically going to see at their home, then the issue that you're going to continuously run into is you're going to think that the problems are one way and they're way the opposite way. If you thought every vinyl window looked like this, where you see significant warping, mold, discoloration, so on and so forth, then Jesus, every person would need to replace their windows. That vinyl window is probably only 10 years old or so. And look at it, it's destroyed. That would never, ever happen to a wood window, never mind a Renewal by Andersen window. Okay. But a couple things to point out. You see the drastic change in color here. Then you see the weep holes at the bottom here. Okay. I don't know why water would infiltrate that, but clearly they planned on water infiltrating that window. Okay. There's warping all around this window too. And that's pretty obvious. That's a pretty drastic. I've only maybe seen one or two windows that are that bad in my life. This is more like what you'll see though. This next picture from the Chicago window expert. Now you can look up this guy on YouTube. He's got a bunch of great videos about window problems. This probably is just a snippet from one of those videos. But this picture is of this guy checking the warping on a vinyl window. Now, this vinyl window is probably less than 10 years old. It looks less than 10 years old anyways. So it's up in Canada. It's not, I believe, it's not in a place, it's either Canada or Chicago. It's not a warm place. You could see snow on the ground outside, okay? So it's not like it's a place where it's 150 degrees every day, okay? It's not Death Valley exactly, right? But the warping is severe enough to cause a significant problem. Now, this guy's got to hold a yardstick up to that window in order to be able to see the problem, right? So if you think customers are going to notice warping in their home, you're drastically wrong. If you start approaching customers saying, hey, are your windows warping? Every one of them is going to say no. And this is the reason why. They're going to say no because the warping that they see looks so insignificant, they have no idea it exists. Nobody's walking around with yardsticks checking their windows to see if they're warping. Nobody is doing that, okay? So what you need to know is that warping exists in almost every vinyl window to some degree. That warping is going to cause difficulty with opening and closing. It's going to cause difficulty with locking. Definitely, it's going to cause difficulty with energy efficiency. Eventually, that seal is going to break, and you'll see condensation in the seal, which I'll show you here in a couple minutes. Okay, that's what you have to know is these problems are seen through other lenses, other issues. Okay, warping in the glass, glass impaction. That's how you're going to identify warping, which we'll go over all those things. Now, what you can't see from this window is this window actually has two locks on it. It's behind the yardstick there. Okay, this window has two locks on it to stabilize that middle piece. But those vinyl windows, what happens is they sink in and they become what we call a smiling window. And even that small degree of warping right there, that small change, there's a reason why they called this dude out to their house. He didn't just show up and break in to stick a yardstick on the windows, obviously. They invited him in because they were having issues. He said, okay, let me identify these problems further. And that's why that situation's happening. Now, if you're wondering what a window looks like from the inside, whenever the weep holes are giving issues, are letting water into the window or whatever, this is what it will look like in the inside. If you look over here, especially at this piece that I'm toggling on here, that piece right there, you can see the inside there, you have mold all inside of the window, okay? Water should never be able to get to the window like that. It should be never be able to cause that amount of mold inside of your window, okay? And these vinyl windows are probably, I don't know, 10 to 15 years old, if that. Okay. The picture I'm bringing up now just shows you the locking issue, okay? What happens with the locks? Okay, the problem with the locks is, on vinyl windows, and the reason why they become such a problem is because the middle part of the window is the most unsecure. It's think about it. It's a small bar. Okay, this part, I'm just gonna go back to one of these pictures here. This part here, okay, is the weakest part of the window because, especially on the top, because the glass, which is the heaviest part of the window, is weighing down on the material, and the material is being beaten up by the sun and the heat. And so that glass, while it's weighing down, is causing warping there, okay? That's going to make the window sort of disconnect from itself, okay? So what's going to happen is your latch and your hook aren't going to line up, and you're not going to be able to lock your windows, okay? That's why vinyl window companies put two locks on their windows, not because like that's going to make it more secure or whatever. They do that because it stabilizes that middle piece, at least for a period of time, okay? It gets them over their bullshit warranties, okay? So when somebody has a window that doesn't lock, I mean, the obvious thing to bring up is it's a dangerous concern. Okay, it's a dangerous issue. Right? You see stuff like this all the time. People breaking into houses through windows and whatnot. Okay, all of the time. It's definitely not going to help them, and it causes lack of energy efficiency. What you can see here in this window is you see a hole right here. Okay, the lock is pushing out a hole. That's the biggest concern the Chicago window expert guy has here in this window too. Is that warping causes a gap in the window, causing you to lose up to 30% of your energy efficiency through that hole, okay? All right, just to put a couple other problems. See the drastic mold on this piece here? All right, that's because the vinyl material allows for that mold to grow. All right, and then we're going to pull a couple other problems here. Let me see. Right here you have chipping in the window because the material has over time deteriorated. It's gotten very fragile, and that fragile material has broken there, causing a hole to form. That's going to happen to varying degrees. You'll see a lot of chipping and cracking with vinyl windows like that. This is a good picture to bring up because you'll see the fog and condensation in the glass. That's a lot of significant fog and condensation, okay? Again, this is a drastic problem, right? That's why it's on Google. That's why somebody put it online, because it's a more drastic problem, okay? Fog in vinyl windows is not typically going to look like that, but it will get to that level if they don't address it, okay? Let me see if I can pull up a couple more. This is another good example of that too, by the way. This is fog in the glass. This looks like an aluminum window. but maybe it's not. Maybe that is a vinyl window. One way or the other, aluminum or vinyl. Can't really tell from this picture here. It looks honestly like one side's vinyl, one side's aluminum, but obviously that's not right. I just can't see it very good. It's probably vinyl. What's happened is that material has oxidized inside of the glass. It's reacted to the metal properties inside of the glass, causing that milky formation to grow when that water dried up. And that's what's happened to that window there. That's, again, very, very significant. Okay. That's not going to happen in every window. You're not going to see that all the time. All right. You see more fog in the glass here. This is more common, although this is pretty severe too. Okay. That's the condensation side of the, so what happens is that the water gets in. This would be the first stage, although it's very deep in the first stage. Then that water will dry, turn to fog, and eventually to that sort of milky material that you saw in that last picture. This is another common thing too. This would be, again, the glass material oxidizing, and that's why those spots are starting to form inside of the filled glass. Okay, so that's what's happened there. That's why it's popping up like little spots instead of like water. Okay, all right. So you get the idea of that. All right. So let me just bring myself to the note page here. Okay, so we're making a couple notes on need here. So know your window problems is that first note, okay? I'm going to make some notes for you guys. I'm going to send them out to you guys too, okay? And you'll see the notes that are in the training manual anyways. That's very, very helpful too. Make sure you look through that, okay? Second is know how to bring up the conversation. And, we talked about this in the scripting section, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. But remember, ask a question like, what would you do first? Your windows or doors? Okay, if you were to win the $30,000 window makeover, what would you do first, your windows or doors? Okay, if you were to win this $30,000 window makeover, or if you want to get even crazier, you could say when you do win this window or door makeover, what are you going to do first, your windows or doors? Again, bring it to life. Bring it to life, okay? Now, look at your chances of winning this are drastically better than your chances of winning the lottery. You got a 1 in a couple hundred chance to win this, couple thousand chance to win this. I wouldn't say that specifically, but you got a very good chance to win this. When you do win this, Mr. Jones, what would you do first, your windows or your doors? Okay, bring that up to the customer first, so then you can get a good baseline of what's more of a concern for them. If they say, I don't know, I'm not really concerned about either one of them, or it's not a big deal to me, or whatever. Okay, well, you will get the chance to pick, sir. I mean, you could do both, I guess, too. What's the most annoying thing about your windows or your doors? Okay, and that's the second question is, ask, what is the most annoying thing about your windows/doors? I would keep it to one product first. Okay, try to ask about the windows first. Okay, if that's what they brought up. Of course, if they brought up the doors is a bigger concern, then ask about the doors. But if they brought up the windows, then stick to the windows. If they say I don't know, then ask about one of the products first. You want to try to keep it, because you want to, the best way to do this is to handle, is to get a hold of what you can handle. Okay. If you can only handle, if you have to handle the doors and the windows at the same time, it's going to be much more difficult for you to balance that. Okay. If you can get into the conversation and only address the windows first, all right, and then bring up the doors after, assuming that they mention the windows, for example, then it's going to put you in a much better place. It's going to make it much easier for you to be able to have that conversation with the customer, because you're not focused on two different things. Okay. That would be my next thing, would be know how to continue to pull pain from the customers. Okay. All right. So know how to continue to follow that conversation, to continue to follow that conversation. What you want to do is, when that customer answers a question, yeah, I guess they're a little bit drafty. Okay. A lot of times the customers, guys, they don't understand the importance of this. They're not gonna tell you every major problem that their windows have. They might tell you, I don't know. I just moved into the home. Okay. No matter what they tell you, your mission is to expand those problems to where you're able to gather a good amount of the information. Because again, if you come up to me, let's say I'm a new homeowner, okay, and I walk up to you at an event and you just, oh yeah, okay, your windows are a little bit drafty. Sure, let's go take a look. I'm not really thinking about the severity of that problem. Yeah, they're a little bit drafty, but we can deal with a bunch of other stuff first. That roof had a leak. I know I need to fix that. Okay. I'd really like to get my basement done over. I don't like the kitchen floor. I'm going to make sure that I do that over. Everything will become more important to me than that problem that you want me to think about the windows. Okay. So how do we continue that conversation? Well, let's say, for example, the customer offers up just a little bit of drafts. They aren't too bad. Okay. The customer says that to me. What I'm going to say next to that customer, so they say, so I say, what's the most annoying thing about your windows? They say, I don't know, just a little bit drafty. They're not too bad. Okay. I'm going to ask them probably, how long have you lived? So how long have you lived in the home? So how long have you lived in the home? Okay. Now remember, we're still in sweepstake mode now here. The customer doesn't know anything about this appointment yet. They're more willing to answer my questions. Okay, that way. And so that's another important note, I guess, with these window problems too, is you put somewhere is don't let the customer know that you're off the sweepstake. As far as they're concerned, we need this information for the sweepstake. Now, a couple different things are going to happen here. Number one, you're going to set more appointments, definitely. Number two, you're going to get more callbacks than you will sweeps. Okay. They still enter to win the contest, but the callback has a couple different elements. The callback is going to have more complete information. Okay. Window problems, so on and so forth. There's going to be a million window problems, but some. Okay. Number one. Number two, it's going to have obviously a time or a relative time to call back. That could mean evenings during the week. That could mean, 2 weeks from now. That could mean a year from now. I would really suggest that you don't put a year from now, right? Because to me, the way that you narrow down that conversation to a callback is you say, what time of day is the best to reach you? If it comes down to you can't set a lead and you're getting a callback, I'm not going to say, when's the best time to call you? Because I know that person's going to say 6 months from now, oh yeah, I figure after COVID's over, stuff like that. So what I'm going to say is, well, what's the best time of day to reach you? And then I'm just going to let them know, okay, we'll give you a call back in a little bit. Okay. And again, that's last resort if I'm not getting the lead, but I think it's an important thing to mention. Okay. So the customer says, just a little bit of drafts, they aren't too bad. I say, okay, so how long have you lived in the home? The customer is going to say to me, about a year. Now the customer could say anything, right? So that customer could say, I've lived there for 20 years. And my response is going to change a little bit. Oh, so you've had the windows replaced. So who did the windows, right? I can ask questions like that. The customer says, I've been there for 20 years, and I know that these are 10-year-old vinyl windows already because the questions that I've asked already. Then the customer, I'm going to tell them, okay, cool, you replaced the windows then. Who do you get them replaced with? Obviously, they're vinyl, they're expansion grass, so on and so forth, right? Okay, I'm going to bring up stuff like that. But in this case, the customer said about a year. I'm going to say, oh, congrats. I'm probably going to say congratulations. I think it sounds weird to say congrats, but I'm just going to write congrats. Congrats on the new home. I'm sure it's beautiful. Now, you've been through a winter, right? In the new home, obviously, I mean, in the conversation, they'll understand the context. Yeah, last winter, the customer says. I say, okay, so what room was giving you the biggest issues with drafts? So I'm digging. The customer says, I guess the bedrooms. I'm going to say to that customer, man, that's rough. The worst place to deal with an issue like that. Okay. Well, Mr. Jones, there is a reason those drafts are occurring. Have you seen more warping in those windows? Or are they a little bit difficult to open and close? Okay. So have you seen a little bit of warping in those windows, sir? Or are they just a little bit difficult to open and close? Okay. Now the customer, they're not going to connect these two things, right? You know, they probably won't. They're probably not going to think too much about it. All right. They're probably going to say they haven't noticed warping. Because again, you don't typically notice warping in your windows unless you're paying close attention to that, right? But you do notice if they're a little bit more difficult to open and close. Okay. You will notice something like that. And again, the customer is still in the sweepstakes form now. They're not, you know, they're not thinking like, oh, this guy's trying to go for an appointment. He's trying to sell me something. They're not in that mode yet. So the customer says to me, I guess a little bit. My wife was having trouble with one of them. I'm going to say, okay, tough guy. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to say that. Right? You do have a lot of people that will try to put it on their wife, though. They will. I swear to God, you hear this all the time. You'll see people that, like when we're out canvassing, well, yeah, my wife struggles with that, not me. All right, big man. All right, big man. Sure. Talking to guys is funny. Guys are interesting. So I guess a little bit. My wife was having trouble with one of them. He says, okay. That probably means warping is causing the drafts. Vinyl windows break down very quickly. Within 10 years. How old are the windows? Customer, I have no idea. Well, sir, unless you are cleaning the windows frequently, you are going to see mold. How many windows do you have like that? I haven't paid attention. Okay. So I'm probably at this point now, I've gotten a couple problems from this customer. I'm going to make a decision. Look, at this person is going to sit there and talk to me, and I see that their willingness to bullshit with me, whatever. I'm going to get deeper and deeper into the problems, of course. Okay. If not, then this would be a fine point to jump off to. I have a couple problems. The guy's admitted to specific rooms having issues with drafts. He's admitted to a little bit difficult to open and close some windows. Okay. And he said, you know, I haven't noticed mold, but I haven't really paid attention to it too. Typically that means that he's not confident that it doesn't exist. That's for sure. Okay. And that's what I'm going to jump into our next part. I'm going to say to that person, well, so like I said, there's a lot of different reasons why, or there's a few different reasons why warping will start to form in vinyl windows. No, Donnie, what's up, buddy?
I'm sorry to bother you.
No, you're fine. I'm on a training video, but I'm good.
I know, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
I sent you the schedule for tomorrow and Sunday.
I did see that.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. So you're diving into that next part. So you're saying there's a lot of different reasons why vinyl windows will become drafty. Okay. What I would do now is have somebody come out to check that essentially. Okay. So you're getting more. So now this person is inherently going to have more interest in at least somebody coming in and check their windows. Again, I'm not, that's what I'm emphasizing on here. I'm not emphasizing on, hey, you need to replace these windows right now. Let's go sell you some windows. No, I'm emphasizing on, look, we're going to come out and just check these windows for you. We're going to see what kind of problems you're experiencing. We're going to dive deeper into this for you, okay? And that customer is going to be more understanding to that point because I've gone through the windows problem with them. So how do you design because it's not going to always be the same issues, obviously. So how do you design this conversation, okay? A couple keys here. No, yes, or no questions within reason. Now, what I mean by within reason is if I'm deep into a conversation with a customer and they've given me several problems, I can afford to ask a yes or no question. Let's say that customer there, right? Okay, they've given me a couple issues now. I feel like we're in a decent place with them. I can say, all right, and have you noticed that they're hard to lock to? Okay, because I've already gotten a couple problems, okay? I can say to that customer, well, another problem that people run into typically is, I don't know, their vinyl windows start to oxidize. I don't know if you felt powderiness on you. I don't know if I'd really ask somebody that like that, but you get the point. You can ask people different things. I can feel free to ask them about their doors at that point. That would be a good thing to ask them about at that point, right? I can bring something like that into the conversation. But I'm not going to start my first couple problems being yes or no questions. What's up, dude? Yeah. Sounds good.
And I think I wouldn't pick the thing over the phone. I don't know why.
Screen.
It's retarded.
I'm on training video, so almost done though. Okay. The next thing is there are several ways to ask the questions. Build a conversation. Okay. Now, some people aren't going to let you get into in-depth conversations. It's going to be more like, how many windows do you have that are having this problem? How many are having this problem? How many? But you want to try to stay away from surveying the customer or from giving the customer a speech. So the two things that people kind of fall into is they start surveying the customer. Are your windows drafty? Are they hard to open and close? Are they not energy efficient? Are your windows warping? Are your windows? And the customer finds it really, really taxing. It's not a natural conversation. Your head should not be buried in your notes here. This is a thing where you're taking the clipboard, you're probably putting it down a little bit, and you're talking to the customer, and then you're just writing down quick little notes, checking stuff off as you're speaking, but you're not sitting there like going like this and surveying the customer like you're taking the census. Okay. The other thing that people fall into is they give the customer a speech. So a lot of people that just learned the window problems do this. They want to tell the customer all their knowledge about windows. So they'll say, well, a lot of vinyl windows will start to warp. Warping will cause drafts. Drafts will cause this. And warping will also cause this. And a lot of times warping will cause this. And because warping exists, this exists too. And a lot of vinyl windows, and the customer is just like, what the hell are you talking about? They're not listening to a word that you're saying. You got to get them involved in the conversation. So make it a conversation, okay? The ways to ask questions, here's just a couple different ways to ask the questions, okay? How many windows do you have that are problem, okay? There's one way to ask, all right? Another way to ask would be, what rooms/area are you experiencing blank problem and more? Okay, that'll be another way to ask the question. Okay, now this, going into, by the way, this in the scripting, okay, and the training manual I'm going to send you, so to make sure you have it. It's the old canvassing training manual, but I've now adapted it for events. That's going to go through this in a lot more detail. It's going to give you examples of these different questions too. So that's why I'm sort of just kind of leaving that for that. Another way to ask would be, so how many would be what we call forced choice. Okay. And that would come off like this. So, sir, a lot of vinyl windows are hard to open and close. Some are hard to lock. What's a bigger problem for you? Okay. Or you could say, yeah, a lot of people I talk to, Mr. Jones, their windows are real drafty. Some just experience some hot and cold spots. So what's a bigger issue for you? Okay, what's the more common thing for you? All right. That would be another way to ask. And then what we call pointing to a yes, okay, is another thing too. Pointing to a yes would be like, Mr. Jones, most people with 10-year-old Windows have issues with drafts. You must be experiencing the same thing. Okay. And you're asking a question there. All right. You're just not saying it's a yes or no question. Yes. But you're pushing in a direction. You're not just saying, are your windows drafty? You're saying, most of the people that I talk to that have 10-year-old vinyl windows, they experience some element of drafts. Your windows must be the same way. Okay. So this is a way to further continue the conversation. Okay. I like asking questions. Let me see here. Hold on. Gather basic info that will help you, such as how old are your windows? How long have you lived in the home? And what type of windows do you have? Okay. These are conversational questions that you can ask that will help further the conversation for you. Okay. And then the last point would be, and I'm going to put this in bold and underline it, italics, the whole nine, make it a little bit bigger too, is transition at the proper time and in the proper way. This is everything. You can't come back from doing this poorly. You can. I'm really being like alarmist there, I guess you call it. You can, but it's very difficult to come back from that. You got to transition well. You have to be able to say, well, sir, vinyl windows there's a lot of different reasons why vinyl windows can experience X. That what I do now is have somebody come out to, to check those windows to make sure, see why you're having those problems and what exact problems you're having. They show you our windows and the differences between our windows and your windows, so on and so forth, so on and so forth. You got to transition well. You got to do it effectively. You got to do it at the right time. Gain a few problems. Don't do it after one problem, but don't piss the customer off neither. Pay attention to what they're saying and the way that they're acting. If the person's like, yep, nope, come on, I don't have time for this. Don't sit there for 20 minutes and ask them questions. Like that's a surefire way to lose an appointment. Don't be stupid. Yeah, we want you to gain as many problems as you can, whatever. That's extremely important. Don't be stupid. If the customer's like, I don't want to be here right now, then maybe it's not a great appointment, but push forward with that appointment. Like if you have no window problems except for one, let's say the first one that you got, and you have a choice to push forward or let the customer go, push forward. You can always ask the rest of the problems later too. When that customer agrees to a quote, then you can come back to this, okay, to gain more information before you leave, before you call the appointment in. Okay, so we're pretty much done now. Okay, we got 3 or 4 different videos for you, broken into a lot of parts. I think it's like 3 hours worth of total videos for you. Okay, it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of information. I appreciate you guys sitting through as much of it as you possibly can, at least as what pertains to you. Okay, any questions that you have, ask me. Any problems that you're experiencing, ask me. Anything that you want. If you want to come in and do some extra training on any of this stuff, you want to role play this stuff out, I have no problem doing that with anybody. You can hit me with whatever excuse you're running into, whatever problems, rebuttals, whatever that you're running into. What you don't want to do, guys, is sit there and deteriorate and watch your numbers deteriorate as you make less and less money because you're screwing up your script, but you're not asking the right questions. You're going to go to these events regardless, okay, of whether or not you have this stuff down. Why go to the events to make $11 an hour when you could be doing when you can be making $40 an hour doing the same thing? You're going to go to the same place. This 3 hours worth of investment of paying attention to these videos, asking questions and so on and so forth, tops, 3 hours tops. That is going to pay off big for you. What if it changes your pay again from, $15 an hour to $45 an hour? It's going to have a significant payoff. Okay. All right. I will talk to you all soon. Thank you very much.